In this lesson, we're going to be building our required fields, and then we can add that in down here, checking to see if the field is there and if it's one of the ones that we're requiring. So taking the element and getting the value, and each one of these, so we're using the string length value, which is going to return back the value, and we're checking to see if string length is 0. And if it's 0, that means that that field doesn't have any content. So we can add in our error message, and we're going to create a function in order to handle the error. So we can have the function called add error, passing in the element that we want to update, and then also a message. So this message is required field, and then also passing in the name of the required field, so in case we want to use it in our output. So we have an error message that we can create, and that means that we got to create a function in order to handle that. So function add error. So this function is going to be the one that's going to show the error messages and that error content. So we're picking up the element. We've got a bunch of parameters, the message that's contained within there, as well as the field name that we're using. And here we can create a temporary variable. So we can also select the next element sibling. So this is a JavaScript variable that can allow us to select the next element sibling. So I'll show you what that is, and when I click that, you can see that the next element sibling is all of these error messages. So the next one for email is going to be error hide, so that's this one here. Password has one, username has one, and then null we're not sending over. Using class list, and then the method to remove, we're going to remove the element that has the class of hide, so the next sibling. So that means that if I go to inspect, and we don't have any content in there yet, but you can see that when I go into form and we've got all of our spans now have the error message in there. So if I refresh and if I do sign up, it's gonna remove it from all the elements except for email. So email, the next one, the error one, still has hide. But when we look at the next one on the password, the hide is gone, as well as the next one for the username, the hide is gone as well. So that means that we're showing them. So we need to add in some text. We can use text content to add some text into it. So taking that field name, and let's bring that to uppercase. So just using the JavaScript method to manipulate the string contents, and we're going to add in whatever the message is into the content. So let's see how that looks. So now when we do sign up, you see that all of these are showing now. And that's exactly what we want, because we want to pass that error message to the user. Also taking the elements, taking the style, and as we've set the border color to a default color, we can also update it to red if there's any errors, and then also taking the elements and applying focus to that element. So we passed in all that error message, and this is our error message handler function. So now whenever we throw an error, you can see that they all go red, and the focus is going on the last one because it's doing focus on each one as it iterates through. We're triggering this on any ones that have a length of 0, but they're not all required. So we want to look through, and we only want to return back the ones that are actually required. A variable that we set up, an array that we called required. So we're going to check to see if length is 0 and if the required array includes the contents of temp name. Temp name again is that attribute name. And if it's required, so only right now we're requiring email and username, so we're not going to get an error message on password as we've got contents, or we're not, that one's not required. And then when we don't have any contents in the username, then that's when it shows up, or the email. And add in this validation, and then we've got some more validation that we're going to be adding in the upcoming lessons, checking to see if this input is actually an email. The password is going to have to be either numbers or characters. So that's going to be some of the parameters for the password that we can add in. A few others that we can also add in just to make sure that we've got some more additional checks that we can place within the validation. And add in a function to handle the error. And this is going to be the one that selects the next element. And all of the next elements remember within our structure, we always placed a span with a class of error and we hid that class. So this gives us an element where we can add in that error message. So go ahead and add that into your project. And coming up next, we're going to extend on this.